public figures often become symbols of comfort for the audiences who watch them. Over time, viewers begin to associate certain personalities with stability, kindness, and the reassuring idea that problems can always be solved. For many people who followed the popular renovation series Hometown, Ben Napier came to represent exactly that kind of steady presence. On television, he appeared calm, thoughtful, and capable, the type of craftsman who could walk into a worn-down house and patiently transform it into something meaningful again. But television rarely captures the full story behind a person's life. Off camera, the experiences that shape someone are often far more complicated than what viewers see during a 40-minute episode. Ben's life, like many who work in demanding creative fields, included moments of doubt, exhaustion, and personal challenges that developed quietly while the show continued to succeed. His journey reveals something deeper than home renovation. It reflects how a person can balance responsibility, creativity, and family life while navigating sudden fame. Understanding that hidden side of his story offers a different perspective on the man audiences believe they know, reminding us that even the most dependable figures carry pressures that remain invisible to the public. Long before television producers ever noticed the small Mississippi town of Laurel, Ben Napier was living a life centered around faith, community, and service. He grew up in a deeply religious household where both of his parents worked as ministers. In that environment, helping others was not treated as a choice, but as a responsibility. From an early age, Ben absorbed the idea that meaningful work involved guiding and supporting people in their daily struggles. As he grew older, this belief naturally led him toward ministry. Eventually, he began working within the Methodist Church as a youth minister, dedicating his time to mentoring young members of the congregation and helping maintain the rhythm of church life. Yet even during those years, another interest quietly shaped his identity. Ben possessed a natural talent for woodworking. What started as a practical skill gradually developed into a creative outlet where he could build, repair, and restore objects with remarkable patience. Friends and community members began noticing the craftsmanship in the pieces he produced. While ministry provided purpose and connection, woodworking offered something different, a tangible way to transform ordinary materials into lasting creations. For several years, Ben lived between two professional paths that demanded equal attention. During the day, he focused on church responsibilities, working with young people, and participating in the structured routines of ministry. In the evenings and on weekends, he spent long hours experimenting with wood, tools, and design techniques. This second pursuit slowly became more than a hobby. Each project improved his skills, and each finished piece demonstrated a deeper understanding of materials and construction. The process of shaping raw wood into furniture or architectural details gave him a sense of accomplishment that was both creative and physical. Yet maintaining two demanding commitments created constant pressure. Balancing ministry work with growing craftsmanship required long days and little rest. Over time, Ben realized that trying to follow both callings equally might prevent him from fully developing either one. The decision that followed was not simple. Stepping away from church work meant leaving behind a path that had been encouraged by his family and community for years. Still, the pull toward building and restoring things had become impossible to ignore. Choosing woodworking meant embracing uncertainty, but it also allowed him to explore a skill that felt uniquely his own. Around this important turning point in his life, Ben's personal story became closely connected with Erin Napier, the woman who would later become both his wife and creative partner. Their partnership eventually became one of the defining elements of their public success, but it began with shared interests and complementary talents rather than television ambitions. Ben's strengths were practical and physical. He enjoyed working with tools, designing structures, and bringing stability to complex renovation projects. Erin, on the other hand, possessed a strong sense of artistic direction. Her background in design, storytelling, and visual presentation helped transform renovation work into something emotionally meaningful for homeowners. Together, they formed a balanced creative team. What viewers later interpreted as effortless chemistry on television was actually the result of years spent learning how to collaborate under real-world pressures. Financial risks, uncertain opportunities, and the challenge of building a business all played a role in shaping their partnership. By the time a television opportunity finally appeared, Ben had already rebuilt his professional identity once before, moving from ministry into craftsmanship and entrepreneurship. When the renovation series Hometown eventually premiered, the response from viewers was faster and stronger than anyone involved had anticipated. What began as a project highlighting small-town restoration in Laurel quickly developed into a widely recognized television program. Audiences were drawn not only to the home transformations, but also to the atmosphere the show created. The combination of thoughtful design, local history, and genuine warmth made the series feel different from many other renovation programs. Ben's calm personality and careful approach to building projects gave viewers a sense of trust. He appeared less like a television host and more like a skilled neighbor who simply wanted to improve the community around him. However, the rapid popularity of the show also changed daily life in ways that were difficult to predict. With recognition came increased responsibilities, travel demands, production schedules, and the expectations of a national audience. The work that had once taken place quietly in a local workshop now happened under constant attention. As opportunities expanded, so did the pressure to maintain the same level of dedication that viewers admired. As the popularity of Hometown continued to grow, Ben Napier found himself living a life very different from the quiet routine he once knew in Laurel. Success in television rarely slows a schedule. Instead, it often multiplies the number of responsibilities attached to a person's name. Suddenly, Ben was not only a craftsman and business owner, but also a public figure expected to appear on camera, attend events, and represent a show that had become important to thousands of viewers. Renovation projects still required physical labor, careful planning, and long hours in the workshop, yet filming schedules added another demanding layer to the workload. Many people assume that television personalities step back from the difficult parts of their professions once fame arrives, but Ben chose to remain deeply involved in the work itself. He continued lifting materials, supervising construction sites, and helping transform aging houses into welcoming homes. While this commitment strengthened his reputation for authenticity, it also meant his daily routine became more exhausting than ever before. Behind the friendly atmosphere viewers saw on screen, the pressure of maintaining both craftsmanship and television production quietly began to build. With increased attention came expectations that were sometimes difficult to manage. Fans admired Ben's calm personality and steady approach to problem-solving, often seeing him as a symbol of reliability. That admiration, while flattering, also created a subtle burden. People began to expect him to remain endlessly energetic and consistently positive, even during moments when his own energy was fading. At the same time, he was balancing professional commitments with family life. Raising young children while managing a rapidly expanding business required careful time management and emotional resilience. Filming days could stretch long into the evening, leaving little opportunity to rest before the next project began. Gradually, the pace started affecting his physical health. Stress, irregular meals, and constant travel made it difficult to maintain a balanced routine. Over time, Ben gained noticeable weight and began feeling the impact of fatigue more frequently. Although he rarely discussed these struggles publicly at the time, the signs were becoming impossible for him to ignore. What had once been an exciting opportunity was slowly turning into a lifestyle that demanded more energy than his body could comfortably provide. Eventually, Ben reached a moment of reflection that many hardworking people encounter after years of pushing themselves beyond reasonable limits. It was not a dramatic event or public crisis that triggered the realization. Instead, it was a quiet understanding that his health could not continue in the same direction. Long hours, physical labor, and constant responsibilities had gradually worn down his stamina. Everyday tasks began requiring more effort, and recovery after busy workdays took longer than it once had. For someone whose career depended on physical strength and endurance, this shift was deeply concerning. More importantly, Ben began thinking about the future he wanted with his family. Watching his daughters grow up was something he valued far more than professional recognition. That perspective encouraged him to make meaningful changes. He started incorporating regular exercise into his routine, focusing on both cardiovascular training and strength development. Adjusting his diet proved equally important, requiring him to step away from certain comfort foods that had once been part of his daily habits. These decisions were not made for appearance or television expectations. They were made to create a healthier, more sustainable life. Over time, the results of those lifestyle changes became increasingly noticeable. With consistent effort and discipline, Ben gradually lost around 55 pounds. The physical transformation was significant, but the deeper impact involved how he felt mentally and emotionally. Increased energy allowed him to approach work with greater focus, while improved health gave him confidence that he could continue supporting his family for years to come. This shift also encouraged him to reconsider how much public exposure was truly necessary. Fame can offer opportunities, but it also invites scrutiny and constant attention. For someone who values privacy and family life, that environment can become overwhelming. Ben and Aaron began setting clearer boundaries regarding what parts of their personal lives would remain private. Social media activity became more limited, and they became more cautious about how frequently their children appeared in public spaces connected to the show. The goal was not to distance themselves from supporters, but rather to create a healthier balance between public work and personal life. Protecting family stability slowly became more important than maintaining constant visibility. While adjusting to the realities of public life, the Napier family also faced a situation that reminded them how unpredictable attention can sometimes be. Living in a community where many residents knew them personally had always felt comforting, but fame occasionally attracted unfamiliar individuals to the area as well. At one point, a man moved into the neighborhood whose unusual behavior made several residents uneasy. His actions and comments created concern among families living nearby, particularly because he occasionally appeared in public spaces around the neighborhood. Situations like this highlight one of the less discussed aspects of public recognition. When someone becomes widely known, the line between admiration and intrusion can sometimes blur. Local residents reported their observations and shared concerns with authorities, ensuring that the matter would be monitored responsibly. For Ben and Aaron, the experience reinforced how important it was to prioritize safety and awareness within their community. Rather than allowing fear to dominate their lives, they focused on practical steps that would protect their family and maintain a sense of normalcy. Support from neighbors and local officials eventually helped restore peace. Even as life gradually returned to a calmer rhythm, another challenge emerged that directly affected Ben's ability to work. Years of lifting materials, operating heavy tools, and performing detailed carpentry had placed enormous strain on his shoulders and upper body. At first, the discomfort seemed minor, something that might fade with rest. However, the pain slowly intensified, making everyday movements more difficult. Tasks that had once been routine, such as reaching overhead or carrying equipment, began causing significant discomfort. For a craftsman whose identity was tied to building and creating, the idea of losing mobility was deeply troubling. Medical evaluations eventually revealed the source of the problem. A bone spur had developed in his shoulder, and surrounding cartilage had been damaged. Without treatment, the condition would likely worsen. Doctors explained that surgery would be the most reliable way to address the issue and prevent long-term limitations. Although the procedure offered hope for recovery, it also required stepping away from work temporarily, something Ben rarely allowed himself to do. Choosing surgery meant accepting a period of uncertainty and recovery that could not be rushed. The operation involved carefully reshaping the bone spur and repairing the damaged cartilage in the shoulder joint. Fortunately, the procedure was successful, but the healing process demanded patience. Physical therapy sessions became a regular part of Ben's routine, helping him gradually rebuild strength and flexibility. For someone accustomed to constant activity, the slower pace of rehabilitation required a different mindset. Progress sometimes came in small steps rather than dramatic improvements. Throughout this period, Aaron remained a steady source of encouragement, reminding him that healing was just as important as productivity.